are no squids in the dark future. There are no squids in the dark future. You will only understand that if you're here for the live show or you're listening to the beginning, which is going to be available to our patrons, because I just tried to put fingers in my ears through my headphones to not hear spoilers about Squid Game, because we have a guest here chatting with Captain Logan about Squid Game, and I'm not going to hear it, friends. I'm not going to hear spoilers. Welcome back to the Cyberpunk Lorecast. We are not here to speak about squids playing games. We're here to speak about Cyberpunk. That's right. And I'm here with Captain Logan as usual. Captain Logan, how are you?
Ahoy. I'm good. I'm hanging out. It's been an interesting week. I'm going to say that. But yeah. How are you doing?
I'm good well. I'm doing well. My brain's not trying to kill me. I've been having fun playing a lot of Back 4 Blood lately, killing lots of zombies. It's been great. That game is clearly amazing. I think a lot of people are on drugs thinking that it was going to be Left 4 Dead and that it's not as good as Left 4 Dead, and they are absolutely wrong. That game is kicking butts. It's taking names. It is absolutely what I've been waiting for. I've been having a lot of fun with that, and I'm super excited to be talking about Cyberpunk again because we've got another What If episode and a wonderful guest. My co-host from the Mass Effect Lorecast, a wonderful, wonderful friend of mine, somebody who knows way more about Mass Effect than anybody really should, because it's totally a psychosis at this point. And Seven the Legends, and this is my buddy Sam. Sam, what's up? How's it going?
Hey, how's it going, Tom? Logan, very happy to be here on the show. Of course, this is the same day of the week that we do the Mass Effect Lorecast. So this show comes on, the live show anyway, right before the Mass Effect Lorecast. So very happy to be here. Got a full day ahead of me.
Yeah.
And
double feature. This is what I do.
Excited to talk about some Cyberpunk.
Yeah, dude. So you got a new PC recently, and you've never been a PC guy. You've always been an Xbox guy. Have you gone back and forth Xbox, PlayStation, or just Xbox guy in general?
So it's interesting you should ask, because I was originally a PlayStation guy, PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, and then switched over to Xbox.
Okay. So you've been an Xbox guy. You've been waiting to get into Cyberpunk until you got this new PC, correct?
Yes. So I bought Cyberpunk when it launched, and I got it for my Xbox One because I just couldn't take it. I couldn't wait. Mm-hmm. So I bought it for Xbox One, played a few hours of it, noticed some bugs, took advantage of the refund that Microsoft was offering. But I did it with a caveat. I was like, you know what? I bought this game. I have not experienced game-breaking bugs on Xbox. I'm going to refund it, and I'm planning to get a PC anyway. That will give them the time to fix some bugs in the meantime, and then I'll get it on PC again, and then I'll play again.
Right. So and
that's what I've done.
You are the perfect demographic for this topic, because we've been going through these what if topics this month, and today's what if topic is, what if CD Projekt Red waited until today to launch Cyberpunk 2077. So what if they, instead of launching it back in December of last year, had pushed it out another 9 months, another almost entire year, 10 months, I guess it would be, right? Until October, the middle of October. What if they had waited until holiday season? This is the beginning of holiday season 2021, pushed it out another 10 months, given themselves a whole nother cycle, another big lump of time to get through all of these patches to fix a bunch of the bugs that we know they've been doing, in order to wait until right now in order to launch it. And you're the guy who has just jumped right back into this. Now, you're not playing it on your Xbox One, you're playing it on PC instead, but they've been doing fixes across the board. We know that it plays a lot better on Xbox One, a lot better on PS4. They're still working on doing the next gen releases of this, but we know that a lot of the same bug fixes are available for PC. You've got a new PC that's running a 3070 NVIDIA graphics card with a nice CPU.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
How did you find one?
he bought a pre-built system. He didn't buy the individual parts, and so he was able to get it pre-built. Yeah. And I helped him. Helped him search for these parts. Right. We found a refurbished system. He had some issues with it. He had to send back the graphics card. They sent him back a brand new graphics card instead of a refurb graphics card. He put it back in the system. Everything's working a lot better. Long story short, now he's able to boot up Cyberpunk. So the question is, what would it be like today if they were launching this game now instead of 10 months ago? So this is the idea that we're starting with here. Now, before we get into that, I want to hear a little bit about Sam's impressions getting into the game right now as opposed to 10 months ago. So far, how much have you been able to play? Where are you at in the game?
Are you still stuck on the custom creator?
On the custom creator. Yeah. How much time did you spend building your character?
Your character's stuff.
I couldn't. So I'm still trying to decide. At first, I wanted to make myself feel better about myself. So I had almost decided on the small one for a while. But yeah, that's about where I'm at. No, I've put a few hours into it, and I think it's like 3.5 hours in. I did take some time to just wander around Night City the first chance I could get, and just kind of look and appreciate the graphics, because, like, man, that is the first thing that really jumped out at me. I mean, how cliche about Cyberpunk, right? But it truly is, it's got the graphics of a next gen game, and I'm comfortable saying that. I know that some people have been so off put by its bugs that they don't want to give it credit in some of the places where it definitely deserves credit. But yeah, I'm in the game. I am currently at the point where, so I picked a corpo background, and I'm not sure how much that alters the storyline, because again, I haven't completed it. But okay. I'm at the point where I have spoken with Dex. I've met up at the brain dance club, and Judy is putting me through a brain dance, like, at the moment.
Okay.
So
okay, got it. So you're still working through kind of the intro of the game, is what you're doing.
Yeah, I haven't. So I've managed to avoid a lot of spoilers for this game too.
Good.
And
that's great.
And my friends told me that I should prepare for a very long intro.
Yeah, depending on how long you take wandering around and kind of soaking everything in, you can pace it out fairly long, or you can kind of speed through it in 4 hours. Or shorter, depending on how you mainline it.
Speed through it in 4 hours.
Yeah, it depends a lot on whether or not you like what you consider the opening. Like, if you're considering like the title card, the opening, then yeah, it's a pretty hefty cold open. But I mean, like you've mentioned, you've already kind of wandered around Night City. And while you aren't necessarily working on anything except for like one quest, you can still kind of run around and go do stuff. So you can kind of get into the thick of it. But once you get past the title card, that is effectively when everything else in the world comes online. And that's when you'll start picking up side quests and seeing different zones and aspects of that a lot easier. But effectively, you're in the game. You're just following the main story and path as you should. And the title card, for some reason, is just super deep into that first line.
Right. So, okay. So far, have you come across any bugs?
Yes.
Okay.
So far I have.
What have you hit so far?
And so far, it was immediately when I was coming out of VIX the first time, and I walked back out, and it was wanting me to go somewhere. So I figured I'll drive. Why not? And the game had other plans. So I'm going to send you a screenshot while we're talking here, because I took a screenshot. I figured you might like that. But basically, I'm walking out of VIX, and I walk up to my car. First of all, I can't find my car. And then I decide, like, I know where I parked the car. I know where I was supposed to park the car. I can't find it. It's not there. So I reload the game. And then after having reloaded the game, I come across this wonderful thing. Here, I gotta send it to you. But basically, the car is levitating, and it shouldn't be.
Nice.
And that's I don't know if that's a common, I don't know if that's a common thing that happens in this game, but the car is levitating. It definitely shouldn't be. It's not a hover car. And I try to get in it while I'm on the phone with Regina Jones. And then that freaks out a little bit. The audio went haywire for a second. And it came back. But then as soon as like it comes back, I'm like trying to drive and I realize that I can't drive whatsoever. So I'm sending you the screenshot in our group chat that we got going on Discord right now.
Shoot it over and I'll load it up.
As you can see, the car's just sitting there like it's on a flat plane, and it definitely shouldn't be. So it's like the car is existing as its own asset in the world.
Right. I'll load this up and put it on screen while you.
That's kind of funny.
Yeah. Some of the vehicles, and there's a lot of bugs around the vehicles and things. That stuff is obviously still an issue. So we'll just call it that.
A lot of that is reloading into the game and having it try to pick the actual plane that it should be on, and it's probably running into the issue where there's the Quest version of the car that's associated with what you're working on, and then there's the actual car, and it probably tried to load in like the actual car where the Quest version of it is supposed to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can see it here. The ground is sloping down, but the car is flat, as if it's on a flat surface.
That's great.
It's just kind of hovering there. Yeah. But everything eventually worked out. It kind of worked out at some point.
It did. That's not the only bug that I ran into. I ran into the people terrified forever bug. I'm sure that we're all well acquainted with that one. I was like, so I was playing on controller because old habits die hard, right? And because I just wanted to kind of appreciate the game for what it was. And instead of having to fiddle with the controls and be like, oh, what does this do? What does this do? Even so, I like accidentally threw a grenade.
Yes.
And it wasn't a lethal one. It was just a flashbang one, but I threw it into like a busy like square. And then, everyone within earshot and eye shot was terrified forever.
Yeah, they all do the and then they all hunker down thing.
And they're like,
yeah.
Was the 1 second flashbang grenade over 10 years later? So I ran into that, fixed it by reloading. That's just, I don't know if that's a new fix, but fixed it by reloading.
That was supposed to be fixed in the second to last update, I think. But to speak to that, it's funny that you actually had to reload, because originally when the game came out, all you would have had to do is do a 360 with your character and all of the cars and people would have reloaded. So
that's absolutely true. Yeah, you just turn and look away and then turn back around, and all the other NPCs and things would have just like been replaced. That is
That's
true.
Kind of hilarious, kind of creepy.
Yes. Yeah. Everything's a simulation. Everything in front of your eyes is never actually permanent. Oh man. Yeah. Okay. So other than the bugs, which it seems like those are two just kind of, experience breaking a little bit, but otherwise they don't get in the way of you progressing, which that's the big thing, right? Those are almost more like Bethesda-like bugs, really, like, oh, I walked into Riften and I accidentally punched a guard. Now everybody's mad at me forever. Like that kind of thing.
I got some questions if you don't mind.
Sure.
All right. Okay. So Sam, compared to Mass Effect, how are the dialogue choices and conversation flow for you for Cyberpunk?
Oh my God. I'm a huge Mass Effect fan, of course. And yet so far the dialogue has been so smooth. The dialogue has been so natural and cinematic, no matter which one it seemed that I choose, or and this is something that was new to me. Because when I played at launch, I don't remember there being choices that were specific to my background or choices that were specific to skills that I had. Maybe they weren't showing up. I'm not sure. Maybe that was a bug that I didn't know was happening back then. But this time around, I've noticed a lot of corpo background, unique dialogue choices, which I've been choosing those because I always want to pick the unique experience, right? I thought about that over and over again in the main quest, where every time I answer a question or proceed with the dialogue, it just feels really, really smooth. Whereas in Mass Effect, sometimes you pick the prompts and Shepard just goes off the fucking wall. And it's like, that was not what I was expecting at all. You way overreacted, Shepard.
Right.
Yeah, I haven't really encountered that in Cyberpunk yet.
I mean, with the comparison to Mass Effect, there's it's really clear in Mass Effect there's a good and a bad and a neutral take that you can generally take with most conversations and relationships. Are you missing any of that with Cyberpunk? Do you feel like you're that kind of a option for dialogue is there, or do you think that you'd like to have something like that in the game?
No, but the reason being is because what I already understood about the Cyberpunk aesthetic before going into the game was that it comes with this burden of morality being shades of gray, right? Mm-hmm. It's not about right and wrong and neutral. It's not like, it's not Paragon Renegade and neutral. So I don't think that mechanic would work in a game like Cyberpunk. And I don't miss it. I'm happy that Mass Effect has it. I think it works for Mass Effect. I'm not missing it in this game.
Okay. And then I was curious, what type of V did you choose?
Oh yeah. So I chose Corpo V. And then I put the majority of my points in cool, I can't remember the names now. Cool technical ability, I think.
Yeah.
And then there was one other one. It wasn't strength, and it wasn't. I can't remember now.
There's engineering, tech, body, intellect, and cool.
Intellect and cool, and then the technical or engineering. I guess it would have been were my primary ones. So,
did you go with a male presenting or female presenting?
Masculine. So I went with masculine V. Did the really boring thing that people do where they try to make their RPG characters look like themselves. I failed miserably.
Do you have a screenshot?
Nothing like me.
Do you have a screenshot?
Oh man, I should have taken a screenshot.
Oh.
It looks like he looks like me if I was like a rich kid and had like a souped up Volkswagen Golf GTI that I love to
Corpo,
quote unquote, work on. Yeah, Corpo.
Yeah, a Corpo kid. All right.
Corpo me.
All right. So
nice.
I have one more question. Characters, especially in the Mass Effect series, are very important to the series. Everybody falls in love with at least some set of those characters, or loves to hate certain other characters or whatever, right? How do you feel about the characters so far in the story? You've named a number of characters that are very important to the story that you've already met. How do you feel about those characters so far?
So far, I love Vic. I hope he doesn't backstab me, and I hope that doesn't change. But I do love Vic so far. Mm-hmm. Jackie is a cool guy that I feel like I want to take out for a beer and actually get to talk outside of the parameters of the game, Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I can actually get to know him more than just purely business, which I wonder, how the dialogue changes depending on your background with Jackie. Like, would Nomad V have different dialogue with Jackie than Corpo? I don't know. But yeah, I'm liking Vic a lot. I like Jackie. I want to find out more about him. Judy's voice was not at all what I thought it was going to sound like.
Really? What did you expect to be different?
I don't know.
Okay.
I guess I expected Judy's voice to be a little bit smoother, if that makes sense. Smoother, yeah. And also not like I actually expected it to be lower pitched than it was.
Oh, interesting. So, I mean, she's small, like she's not very big, and she comes across more burned out than I think she looks. Maybe
she's got a gruff voice.
That's it.
Yeah.
Her voice is a lot more gruff than you would expect. It's not a high pitched one. It matches her tone fairly well, but she's not trying to front as anyone, like trying to be a doll anymore. Right.
Yeah, she's kind of already, by the time you meet her, she's kind of already had it with a lot of stuff. She's kind of not putting up with things anymore. Yeah.
And then Dex, I also think I don't know. I'm getting this vibe that he is a rat bastard. So I don't know.
Well, he is a fixer.
That's all fixers.
He's a fixer.
Maybe that's what V was talking about when I picked the dialogue option with Jackie about, like, I'm used to fixers, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So maybe that's what he was talking about, but I can't wait to see. I don't know. I don't trust X. We'll see how it goes. Like I said, I've managed to avoid spoilers. So yeah.
Cool. It's really cool to hear your perspective on this, at least this far along after, because we've been talking spoilers for so long. So it's really neat to see your perspective. Go ahead.
I wanted to give you one piece of advice. It's not spoilery, but just good advice. Save as much money as you can and don't trust anyone. And especially don't people that you think you can trust.
That sounds like sage advice for life too.
Yeah. Well, in the dark future, it is the dark future.
Yeah.
Okay. This is awesome. I love getting your perspective here. So, okay. So let's, Logan.
I am kind of curious because Sam's come from a very interesting background in this instance. He's been playing a lot of Mass Effect, and there's a much different style to most of the way that you can play Mass Effect compared to Cyberpunk. So from like a combat aspect, how are you feeling with the guns? How are you feeling with the hacking? Like, how does that come across to you?
So far, I'm really intrigued with the stealth way of things, and I was wondering if Cyberpunk, and I guess I'll find out, but I was wondering if Cyberpunk is a little bit like Dishonored in that, the way that you approach situations will dictate circumstances later in the game. But that being said, normally I'm like a run in there and screw stuff up kind of guy, like, just shoot them up. Why not? Vanguard is how I play Mass Effect. So gotcha. Biotic charge, shotgun, assault rifle. If I'm feeling like a sniper, I'll do it, but it's going to be like a combat sniper. Like, we're going to be running around while I'm doing it. And so far, I feel compelled not to play Cyberpunk that way. I've found like one shotgun that I like so far, and it's like you charge up the shotgun, and then I found that if you just aim it at people's heads, it is particularly effective.
Yeah.
So that one's rewarding, but like I said, the hacking, the stealth, that is kind of what has drawn me in so far, and I think I'm gonna angle my playthrough that way.
That was Logan's main first playthrough. Was hacking.
I don't want to steer you in any way, but I can say that you won't have to worry so much about the way that you approach encounters, but the way that you approach encounters can be varied and unique to your build as well as how you want to play. And regardless of how you choose to approach each kind of stronghold or encounter or any fight like that, play the way that makes you feel like you're having fun, because it will feel better. It'll be more rewarding for you to play it the way you want to play it, as opposed to necessarily the way that the game is either suggesting it, because it's you as V, and you should really lean into how you feel like your V should take this. Like if a fixer comes at you and says, "Hey, I need you to stealthily take down this person for me, put a hit on him," stuff like that, and you go in and just punch him in the face and then shoot him with a shotgun, or just run around and hack them from around the building and have their cyber optics burn out. Whatever you want to do that, because I promise you're going to have a lot more fun with that, regardless of however the mission goes. And typically the missions will continue on. There's not too many fail states in most of the game, so you won't have to worry so much about that.
Yeah.
Hopefully that's not too spoilery.
Things will continue on. It's just some people will be happier with you depending on how you handle things. But things will continue on.
I'm happy to hear that, and I did hear from one of my friends, not a spoiler, but he also chose the stealth path, and he was like, "Damn, is it hard?" He was like, "It's really, really difficult, at least like mid-early game." That's what he said anyway.
There's tools that help improve that. So keep an eye out for things that would make sense to approach like a stealth style of gameplay, because it's that I think is some of the more challenging ways to actually play. And if the difficulty isn't enough, you can always go in and adjust that, or if it's too much, you can always adjust it like mid game and have it impact like how hard things are going to.
Right. Whereas I chose to run around and chop everybody's heads off, and it got real easy real fast.
Yeah.
And it's just the game is just balanced in a weird way. So just play it how you want, adjust it if you need to later, and just keep having fun with it. And don't let that get in the way. You know, just do whatever is the most fun for you and just go from there. So
got it. Stealth weapons and a katana. All right.
There you go. Yeah, there you go. But yeah, you can easily min-max the system if you spend a little bit of time looking at it in certain ways, or you just play with what you enjoy and just have fun with it. And that's probably the best way to do it the first time, is just do what you enjoy and go with that. So from an outside of the game perspective, like, it seems to me that you're having the, like, what would it be like if the game was launched today inside the game perspective. What about from the outside of the game perspective? The game was launched. It got a lot of excitement. It came out. Everybody was excited. It sold like gangbusters. And then immediately it got crapped on. People were like, this game shouldn't be out yet. Look at all these bugs. People are posting these compilation videos of all the ridiculous stuff. People were asking for returns. PlayStation said, nope, we're not going to allow you to download this anymore. It is off the store. It was getting review bombed everywhere. There was a big pushback against this game, and the negativity was huge. Everybody was making fun of it. And within just a few weeks, it was not selling like it previously was right at launch. And it sold well at launch because of the marketing. And we can all agree with that. Now, we've also had many conversations about this before, where there are good things in this game. The story's good. The characters are great. There's a lot of good qualities in the game, but obviously it wasn't ready for launch 10 months ago. What do you think would have been, or would be today, the reaction to this game coming out now publicly outside of the game?
So this is not withstanding my own views on the game. I'm totally looking at this from a societal perspective.
Right.
I think that disappointment would still be rampant.
You think so? So let's kind of walk this up. Let's go back to December, and instead of them saying, here's the game, it's coming out, they release another press release that says, sorry, everybody, we have to push this back another 10 months. Because that would have been the first thing that happens, right? So we have to follow through the order of time on this. So they've already delayed it. Now they delay it again. And they're like,
I have a couple quick questions before we jump in. Actually, are we still assuming that the previews that they showed to journalists through like them streaming the PC version still happened? Like, are we assuming that the marketing beats for the cinematics and stuff all happened?
Well, let's go back in time and figure that out. When did those occur? How close to launch was that?
So
you remember?
Okay, so what was it? 2019. We got a 40-minute video that showed very well. Right. It was the scavenger scene where you and Jackie burst into the apartment complex and rescue the woman in the bathtub and and see that. Then in June of 2020, they started releasing the Night Wire videos with Holly B, and they gave journalists a 3-hour experience through the start of the game, and they streamed it. I would assume
that those would still have happened, and that this would have been kind of a last minute, like a week or two before launch, pullback. Like, in this what if scenario in my head, somebody in the company like went to the powers that be, whether that's the investors, the CEO, somebody, and was able to pitch a strong enough argument to say, listen, if we put this out now, this is what's going to happen. We can't let that happen. We have to push it back. We absolutely have to push it back.
Okay, so there's already been 3 delays at this point then.
Right. There's already 3 delays, and somebody in the 11th hour says, we are going to get review bombed. This is going to tank. This is like, basically they predict everything that did happen in December of last year when it came out early. And they're 100% right, because those things did happen, right? And they're like, we can't do this. The company's, what's the company's, what's the word? The way the company is seen, the way people see the company is
perspective. Their
reputation.
Reputation, that's the word. The company's reputation is at stake. This is what's going on. It would be better to push it back and still deal with that backlash than it would be to push the game out now. We have to give it another 10 months. The developers are telling us we have to give it another 10 months. So they give it another 10 months, right? So what is the public backlash? Obviously, people are pissed, right? The internet hates when people push back games. We know that. The more even-minded people in the world are going to go, well, you know what? It's fine, because I'd rather have a good game later than a bad game early, right? That's what happens. But you're going to get the people out there that are just like angry about the world, who are just grumpy about everything, are going to be like, the keyboard warriors are going to be like, I can't believe they delayed this another. Why did they release it right now? Blah, 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 blah. Those same people would have been pissed if they released it early, because they would have been going, I can't believe they released it right now. It's full of bugs. I can't play it. Blah, 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 blah. Those people would have been grumpy either way, right? That's exactly what happened, right? Okay, so those people get grumpy. It gets released 10 months later. They start up the new buzz, right? So this summer they start doing some more leaks, and not leaks, but like more reveals, more marketing stuff. They start pushing it out again. Hey, check out all the new details. Look at this. We've got all this, stuff in the game. Blah blah blah. They're showing us behind the scenes stuff. They're giving streamers behind the scene looks at stuff. Hey, look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. And now we can assume that at least all the functionality that has been patched into the game now actually works. The game breaking bugs that have been fixed are there. Like, that stuff works. You don't T-pose when you get into a car anymore. The stuff that supposedly works. All of that stuff fixed. Now, on top of that, they probably would have had even more of the team working on the launch stuff than the stuff that's to come later. I would assume, because that still would have been a primary goal rather than the DLC or other things that they move some of the team off for. Do you think that's accurate?
That's so,
because they divided the team up a bit after launch. Do you think they would have kept more of the team on the game itself?
I think, like you said, there would have been a collective groan. Someone delaying it in the 11th hour, that would have been met with, at least from the hardcore Cyberpunk fans, like yet another sigh, of course. Do I think it would have altered expectations? No. Well, I don't think it would have decreased expectations. In fact, I think it would have raised them, unintentionally so. But about the team's allocation and how much of the team was working on, what they should have been working on? Hopefully, I would hope so. But then again, I'm looking at this from a perspective where, with my perspective, they should have never let the marketing get ahead of them like they did. Because I think a lot of it can be traced back to that. Of course, there were some technical issues with the game, but I think a lot of the disappointment from the game came from unrealistic expectations. There was a lot of things where, of course, there were game-breaking bugs. There was T-posing in cars, like you mentioned, but there was also little bugs in the background, which people, after Cyberpunk became a meme for its failure, people like to harp on those. And I think that those bugs only served to detract people from the immersion of the game. And going into December of last year, that's what I heard in the hopefulness of people's voices so much, that they just wanted a game world in the Cyberpunk aesthetic in which to live. They wanted the immersion. And these bugs took away from that immersion. That being said, from what I've witnessed is the game's current state today. A couple quirky Bethesda-like bugs that might not even be there if they delayed it again. I think the reception would have been cautious. It would have been high expectations. It would have been cautious, but maybe it would have been received better.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I gotcha. What do you think, Logan?
I think we are seeing this already, but with a different game. I think we're seeing exactly what we would see, but with Halo. Halo was supposed to launch the same time last year. We had one video in July of 2020 that everyone memed hard on, and they literally said like September, they're like, hey, we got to push this back a year. Yeah. And everyone was like, are you serious? You're missing the launch of a console after you promised us the launch of a console. And they took a year. Yeah. And at the end of July 2021, they released a beta flight and everyone saw it and was like, okay, it's good. But everyone is still asking about the campaign. Everyone still says that the multiplayer is going to be great. No one has any clue what the campaign's about, and no one has seen the campaign since that last video. And everyone is like, what's going to happen with the campaign? What happened with Cyberpunk is so much marketing. And I think if you had all the way up until like, say, the people of in June 2020, when reviewers and journalists got to play it, they would have seen a pretty good game, except for what the main arguments there were, which was mostly them like complaining about how floaty and how bad the driving was. And that was the feedback that CDPR was giving us after that, is that they're gonna take time to work on the driving and make sure that it feels good. Then if they were to come out and say, hey, we're going to delay this a year, I think you'd have some huge red flags. Like there is a cognitive dissonance at that point where reviewers are saying it looks great. They're really hyped for it. They're getting shares from CDPR. Why is this game getting delayed a year? Mm-hmm. That does not make sense.
Because they haven't been honest with their messaging. Right.
So a lot of people would be questioning what the heck is going on inside Cyberpunk or CDPR. What are they doing that is so bad that they are not sure about what's actually happening? And then they would have to start ramping things up at the in the summer of 2021 to kind of say like, hey, we took some time. This is what we're at. And a lot of people would be putting it under the microscope the same way that they're doing with the Halo test flights, and really analyzing it and saying, if I shoot fruit in Cyberpunk 2077, are individual fruit going to blow up, or is the whole stand going to blow up?
Right.
And at that point, a lot of people would be interested. They'd still be excited because we've had so much hype for this video. The marketing was insane. It was the most marketed game probably ever. And a lot of people would be going into these videos like, okay, this is cool, but what did they do over the year? Like, what was that year's worth of work done? And CDPR have not been good at communicating their errors. They've been really good at communicating what they want people to see. So I think there'd be a lot more scrutiny over the game when it comes out. And if it came out in the state that it's in now, I think we'd see a relatively close score to what the PC version got, but I think a lot of people would still be, instead of like an 86 on Metacritic, I think we'd be seeing more like a 79, because I think people would be looking at the game from the perspective overall as a game that was being played on PC, but the original console versions are still kind of rough. They're good, yeah, but they're still pretty rough, and those would still impact the game. I don't think they can get away from that, but I do think that if they had the chance to do it over again, if they took a year off, I think a lot more people would be saying, cut the last gen, just keep it on the next gen, because we would already be a year into the next gen consoles. And I think a lot of people would be like, hey, you know what? You can't get a PS5 or an Xbox Series X or S, but it's going to be a next gen game. And I would say, hey, you know, it sucks that you're going to miss out on a whole generation of players and that install base, but you're going to have a much better game if you just do it. And I think if they'd focused on that, then there's a good chance that they might actually have had like a PS4, Xbox Series X version available at launch. And I think that's what everyone was hoping for.
PS5.
That sounds like
Xbox
a tough.
PS5.
That's a tough financial decision, because now you're cutting out at least half of the ones you're going to sell, if not the majority. And with how much you mentioned them selling or spending on marketing, I don't know that it seems to me that a lot of the decisions that were made by the financial side of the company, not by the design side of the company. Right. Have you guys watched Mythic Quest?
Yeah.
This sounds like one of those things where like the financial team is winning out on like a lot of the decision making, not the design team,
The thing that I rail against in this situation is that at some point the design team would have had the opportunity to say, hey, marketing is screwing us over on this. We need to pull back on what we're doing. And if that's the case, you're still running into that problem of a lot of the issues that got fixed with Cyberpunk currently are issues that came as a result of public outcry. A lot of them. Yeah. How we felt about fighting, or how we felt about combat, how we felt about quality of life fixes, things like that. The things that we haven't had are like the RPG elements. We still wouldn't have a transmog in the game. We still wouldn't have customization for our apartments. We still wouldn't have being able to get our own cars. All of those types of things would still not be in the game if it launched today.
Systems, right? The additional systems are not in there.
And I think that would drag down because people wouldn't be focusing on the bugs. They'd be focusing on what is currently available system wise, gameplay wise, story wise, and graphics wise.
Right.
And I think a lot of those other boxes can get checked off, but there's still some big boxes that are missing from the game being. Yeah, from the game being a game of a year contender. It would be good, but I don't think people would be okay with a game that has been pushed so much on aesthetics not having something as simple as like a transmog system.
Right. All right. Well, we need to take a break because I got to thank our patrons, but I'm gonna give you a question, and we're gonna come back and answer the question, and then we have an article that just came out today. Forbes, one of our favorite reporters, Paul Tassi has an article called "The Long List of What's Allegedly Being Added to Cyberpunk 2077," and we're going to wrap up the episode by going through this list because there's a lot of exciting stuff in here. A lot of this is speculation, but there's a lot of exciting stuff. We're going to talk about this and wrap up the episode. But the question I wanted to leave you with before we go to the middle of the show is, do you think the wise decision was then to launch the game when they did, or should they have pushed it back again? Because it's a rock and a hard place. This isn't an easy choice. This is a really good what if, All right, we'll be right back. All right, so here we are in the middle of the show, and we have 19 patrons to thank. Thank you to all of our patrons for helping to support the show. You guys are amazing. And if we've done anything to help you get through your workday, your commute, your workout, or fixing your patio, because that's what I did today, I re-glued some of the bricks in the little stairs that go up, the little steps that go up into my house today. And that would have been a wonderful time to listen to a podcast, but I didn't do that. But if you listen to podcasts while working on your home, then, and we help you get through that, then check out our Patreon, patreon.com/Cyberpunk Lorecast. And if you are an upgraded patron, then we've got an episode for you to come join us. We will be recording on Halloween night. I know that's a tricky night for some of you guys to join us, 9 p.m. on Halloween night. If you can join us, that would be amazing. And I think it would be really fun, Logan, to do a what if episode with our patrons and to have them pitch some what if ideas on the episode that we could all kind of play around with. And so here's what I'd love to hear from our patrons is bring a what if idea with you. And we're gonna toss this around in our conversation on that episode. So think about something that would be really cool to mix up, kind of throw in there, change around Cyberpunk, and we'll play with that on that episode coming up in just 2 weeks. So if you want to join us on that episode, then all you have to do is become one of our upgraded patrons on Patreon.com/Cyberpunk Lorecast. And thank you to all of our patrons. You guys are amazing. All right, let's get on with the rest of the show because we've got more stuff to tackle. Here we go. All right, so Sam is our guest. Sam, do you want to go first? I know this isn't an easy question. Do you think it was the right choice to launch the game when they did, or should they have pushed it back?
You know, my lack of knowledge might actually serve as a benefit for a quicker decision to that, to answer that question.
Sure.
So I think that it was still the wrong call to release it when they did. Just because the marketing team put you in a hard place doesn't mean that what they did was right. Because at the end of the day, the way that I see it is their reputation, the damage that their reputation sustained, how can you quantify that? How can you quantify that in dollars? Because that's not just a customer who is dissatisfied, who's not coming back to your restaurant. Like I said, it's a customer who's not coming back again for another burger from your restaurant, even if it's like a totally new burger that you released, 10 years down the road. They hear your restaurant and they think of that one really nasty burger you gave them that one time.
The one where the pickles float off of the burger on their own, and the
exactly.
And the
they don't want another burger.
The tomato
not from
tastes
you.
like a jalapeno for some reason, and you're like, "What is with this burger?" Yeah,
right. The chef sneezed in the food. It was awful. And so I think that's. I think that you can draw a parallel like that. You get food poisoning from a place, you're always going to remember it, no matter how many times you loved that place before the food poisoning happened. I'm looking at you, Big Mamas in Athens, Ohio.
Oh, no.
That's totally not a personal thing. No. No. Big Mama's Burritos. Anyway, love the place. My point still stands. I loved it for years and years and years and years, and then I got food poisoning there once. I was gun shy forever after that.
Yeah.
Forever.
Yeah. That'll do it.
So,
all right. So you're on the, hey, they should have pushed it back anyway train. Logan?
Well, I have to ask you, Tom, because I'm pretty sure you and I are pretty big fans, but why do we follow Master Bruce?
So we can get back up again. That's right.
And much like Chipotle's horrible history
with Batman.
With poisoning people, Chipotle is still around. They're still making big burritos, and they're still doing fairly well. So I think this is a great opportunity for CDPR as a company to have a little hubris, to fall down from the lofty claims that they were saying. They wanted to be the next GTA 5. They failed hard, and they've had to restructure. They've had to let people go. They've really had to analyze how they approach game making. And I think that because of this failure, they've had an opportunity to say, you know what? Maybe the way we were doing things just wasn't as solid as we thought we were. Maybe we're not as good at taking care of our employees. Maybe we shouldn't have them crunching so much to try and get this game out that is supposed to be the next GTA 5. And because of that, did it hurt their reputation? Are people going to question CDPR from now until eternity? Yeah. Should we? 100%. I think we should do it with every company. I don't think we should trust any company. I don't think that they are taking care of their employees nearly as well as they say they are. And I think that because of this, the community has had an opportunity to help have a stake in where this game goes because of our feedback, because of what we said we wanted to be in the game, because of what the modders have done for this game. We're going to be getting a better CDPR game in the future. And I don't think that we would if this had launched the way the PR marketing team wanted it to look like it was going to launch.
Okay. Interesting. It's like it's a rock in the hard place, It's a tough choice. I'm almost always on the page of it's better to push it back than it is to push it out early side of things. But you've made some good arguments. I have to wonder if we had waited again and pushed it back again, if we wouldn't have just gotten basically I don't know, the same game with just a little bit less problems, and they wouldn't have sold as many and had just less money in order to fix the things that were still problems and not the thing that had lived up to. Like in the situation, I just wonder if it just would have been, we would have just all been worse off for it in some way. Like, it's weird, looking back on things as 2020, so I don't know. It's an interesting dilemma. I'm not sure. I'm really sure which is the better thing here, but, it's a tough thing. I feel like looking forward in time, the right decision is almost always be forthcoming with your audience, tell them the truth, try to be respectable and upstanding. And then when you can, push things back. And if you have the time to do so.
The key factor there is that you have to trust the company to be willing to be that upfront.
Right.
If they aren't being that upfront, then it doesn't matter.
Right.
People will continue to have to crunch. People will continue to have to try and do things that their perspectives aren't being listened to or trusted, and that gets presented to the audience. So in an ideal world where the corporations are doing what's best for the consumer, totally. Yeah. Push it back, just like the way I feel like Halo is trying to do, because they know how important that franchise is to Cyberpunk was the next game for CDPR. They didn't do the thing that they knew they should have done, and they didn't listen to the people from the inside. It feels like with at least Xbox and Halo, they saw the writing on the wall early on, and they made the hard decision. Like Phil Spencer was like, all right, I have to call up Satya Nadella and make this call. And it's going to be a really bad call, but it's going to be for the best.
Right.
And
I think you're right.
Hopefully Halo turns out the way we all hope it does. And hopefully CDPR has learned enough from this. Like the discourse around gaming in the last year since CDPR failed with Cyberpunk's launch has been learn from CDPR. Don't pull a Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
And I think that is still an issue that is ongoing. Like, we are still Battlefield 2042 right now.
Yeah.
Call of Duty Vanguard. Everyone is saying it. This game is not ready. Three weeks of delay is not going to change anything.
Right.
And at this point, I think more companies need to be in control. Let their devs say, like, hey, if this isn't ready, let's delay it.
Right. Pushing your devs for more crunch, not a good idea. Keeping your devs in crunch for a year running is not going to fix a game. It's just going to burn out your devs. All of this stuff. Like when the team itself is just in crisis for long periods of time, it's just not going to make things work well. That is like having a toxic work environment is not going to make good products. Like we need to learn from this and create better environments. All of that stuff together creates a bad system, and then deciding to push things back in order to try to fix it and make it better. Just on top of all that stuff, I think you're right. It just isn't enough sometimes. And so maybe you just put the thing out there, and then we can all see how bad the thing actually is, and then start fixing everything. Maybe that's what actually allows us to see the truth of the situation. So yeah, maybe that's it, and shine a light on it, and then we can go from there. But I'd love to hear everybody's thoughts on this. You're of course welcome to join us on the Robots Radio Discord and share some thoughts about what you think is the best way to handle these things, and what it would be like if we were to launch this game today. How would things be different? Now, we do have one article to go over, and we're going to have to burn through this pretty quickly because we need to move along in order to wrap up the episode and move on to the Mass Effect Lorecast, because Sam and I have another show to do. But I'll share links for this, and I'm going to put the link for this in the Twitch chat for you guys to take a look at this while we talk about it, and this will be in the show notes. But this article on Forbes is called "The Long List of What's Allegedly Being Added to Cyberpunk 2077." This is by Paul Tassi, who we've mentioned multiple times on the show before. His articles are pretty spot on. So this is a list of items that come from some connections, some conversations, some speculation, some information due to the hiring of modders at CD Projekt Red. And let's just go over some of the main points that are brought up in this article. And in next week's episode, Logan and I will be tackling what if Cyberpunk 2077 was created by modders. That's going to be the topic. and how would it be different? So we're just going to hit the bullet points, and I just want some quick reactions from you guys on this. So it says right here, first bullet point, over the next few years, CDPR will be remaking, quote, practically every system that exists in the game over time. Slow improvements rather than some massive patch or release fixing everything.
Promising.
Yeah, sounds great. Do it.
Yeah, and it seems like they might be on track for doing that, because that seems to be kind of where they're going, right? Okay, next on the list, the entirety of the police system will be reworked.
Good. They need to really understand, like, cops should not stop following you after a certain distance. Like, there's a reason why you're wanted, and it's not because you're only desired for short periods of time.
Right.
Yeah, I was shocked at how easy it was to evade the police.
Absolutely. I think that'll make the world feel more lived in. Next on the list, factions will remember how you've behaved towards them in the past and be hostile or passive towards you as a result. We are already starting to see bits of this with Arasaka drones attacking players if you've started a new game post patch 1.3.
Is that something you've run into, Sam?
I actually thought that I just did, like an hour or two ago. I thought I just ran into that because I believe the gang is called the Tiger or something. Tiger
Claws?
I can't remember the name.
Tiger Claws, yeah.
Yes. So I had ran up and like shot one of them who was in a shootout with the police. And then like later when I was doing a different mission, I was walking up to where I needed to be. And there was a Tiger Claw member just waiting there and basically like got into combat with me right away. So I didn't think that I did anything to trigger that, except maybe because they're part of the same faction, they knew. Like, I might be wrong. Maybe that was a weird coincidence. I have no idea. But yeah, I actually didn't like. As far as I know.
What about the Arasaka drones attacking you? I guess you're probably not far. You're probably not far enough in the game to deal with that.
Yeah, that did not happen to me.
I think it's a great plan. I think it really does play into the idea of them building out actual gangs. There's a reason why there's gangs. We should have importance focused around them. So it'll be nice if they actually do that the way that some of the modding community's done.
It seems like a similar concept to the police remembering who you are. It seems like the code would be very similar. You know,
I don't see
this group,
why that's...
They know who you are. This is how they feel about you. So therefore they react a certain way.
I don't see why that's like an advanced concept that wasn't in the game to start with, because I mean, Fallout New Vegas did that. And that game's like how old?
Oh yeah. No, I mean, it's not a new idea. It's just obviously wasn't a priority over other things to get this out, you know. Let's move on to the next one. An NPC variety system is being developed to give more diversity, both citizens and their vehicles.
Oh, that's good. So instead of like super hot chicks or really big dudes, we're actually going to see normal people.
Normal people? Maybe? Guy with the big belly, no shirt, and Daisy Dukes?
Yeah.
Yeah, that guy.
Not the same three kids wandering aimlessly throughout the city.
Yeah, depressed child number 2 and depressed child number 1 walking down the streets all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, why does everyone look like Skrillex?
Yes, right.
Effectively.
All right. This you'll like this one. A transmog system is coming, letting you have the stats of one piece of gear while skinning it to look like another, or look like something else, so that you can, dress up and look awesome while still having, the good stats of the dumb looking boots with the raincoat.
Nice.
Nice.
I'm looking forward to next week when we can dive a little bit deeper into that one, because I have some thoughts about that. But yeah, I'll be happy if they do a transmog system.
Yeah. All right. Change to gameplay difficulty balance, altering the current DPS trumps everything system. This will include strengths and weaknesses to different elemental types of damage and more RPG aspects than the game has now. This is reportedly something that got scrapped late into development, which makes sense because this comes from a tabletop role-playing game.
Yeah. Not to mention, like, all the weapons actually have specific types of damage that they deal. It just doesn't change anything.
Doesn't matter.
You scan people and they're like weak to poison, and it's like, Cool. Does that actually do anything? No. Okay.
Nope.
All right.
Nothing.
It sounds
Whatever.
cool in concept, but I mean, that one totally depends upon execution. And if they botch that one, screw it. Just go with Morrowind dice roll combat.
Why do I keep swinging my katana and not hitting anything? All right. A couple dozen pieces of free DLC, albeit they may still be very minor things like clothing or cars like we've seen. A couple dozen of minor things? That sounds great.
I would have loved if this game came out at a time like, for example, Death Stranding has the oh my gosh, it's like the Ybarra bike in it. I can't remember the name of the bike, but it's the red one that everyone sees on the marketing and stuff. That bike is in Death Stranding. Can you imagine if this game launched well and we started getting some really cool crossover cosmetics for like special events? Hell, they could have had Halloween cosmetics if they really wanted to, or Christmas cosmetics, you know, some fun stuff that they would have been able to add in like for DLC things, or just out like horns. You want horns on your V? Awesome.
Why
do
not?
it. Here's a transmog. Here's
Yeah.
a DLC. We're going to do, you know, crazy demon V, and you can start really like adding on this kind of crazy DLC, like cool stuff.
Yeah, that seems, I mean, this is the perfect game for that kind of stuff because you could totally augment your body to look like anything in this universe. Yeah. Like, absolutely. Yeah, there's so much you could do with a world like this, especially if you open up to some sort of multiplayer, which is coming further down the list. So, yeah, absolutely. Next, a New Game Plus system. Yes, please. Yes, please. And let us skip the dialogue and the video stuff if we don't want to have to rewatch it because we've already done it 10 times. Yes, please. Anything else to say about that?
Let me skip brain dances.
Brain dances, yes.
Sorry, Sam.
I don't see how they could screw up a New Game Plus system, but go for it.
Apartment customization with multiple places players can live and redesign. That would be amazing.
Yes. I'm a big fan of that idea.
Hey, let me buy multiple apartments. How about that? Let me actually interact with the clothing that's in my apartment. Let me interact with the weapons that are in my apartment. Let me actually do stuff in my apartment.
That'd be great. Oh, how about this one? A barbershop to alter your appearance. Unclear if just hair or everything.
That's big brain stuff right there. Although,
oh man,
I don't know if I want a barbershop adjusting anything down below my headline though.
Maybe it would be called something other than a barbershop, but unless you're doing the hair. But imagine this holiday stuff where you could run around looking like freaking Santa Claus. I want to infiltrate a gang looking like jolly old Saint Nick.
There's a Santa Claus gang in the.
I want to be Santa Claus and be just like shooting down people. That would be amazing.
Christmas carols playing in your ears while you're shooting people.
Oh my God, yes! And and during Christmas, I want freaking the Cyberpunk equivalent of Christmas music.
It's like Skrillex music in the background, and it's like, you better not pout, you better not cry.
Yeah, you better not pow pow pow. Yeah, that's what I want right there.
Oh my God.
All right. 2 more on the list. 2 large content DLCs. The first of which seems focused on Pacifica. This will not add a big new zone, but layer new content on top of existing zones because they need it. We've talked about this. It will also take place before the end of the game with V, not be standalone or pick a canon ending. Perfect.
Guess who's right?
Perfect. And then, I don't know if we have to say anything else about that. Sam, this isn't really spoilery. There's just not a whole lot of stuff to do in Pacifica. It's kind of, there's some stuff to do, but it's not really filled out. So that's part of why we really want this.
It's not nearly as dense as it could be.
Right.
And it's a shame because it's one of my favorite zones.
And the gang in there is really cool. We just wish it was more about that in the game. But anyway, and then there's Cyberpunk is now replacing the formerly GTA Online-like system that was scrapped after being in development and is a multiplayer concept focused on cooperative play. It's described as a small MMO, but there are no guarantees that this will see the light of day, and it is the furthest thing down the road.
So this sounds
that kind of makes sense, right?
A lot like Borderlands.
I guess, but it also makes sense that you would do all of these other things first, get all of that stuff working, and then add in other players and the content that you can play with other players.
Yeah, don't pull a Daisy where the devs don't fix things and then they just keep adding new features, like fix things and then add the new features.
Right. Like,
so
allow yourself to buy cars and have places to live and all the clothes that you want to wear and actually do all the things in the game. And then add other people in and go on missions together. Amazing. That would be great. This sounds more like Destiny, doesn't it?
I'll tell you what this should be. This needs to be like Far Cry 6. You can play Far Cry 6 single player up to a point where co-op unlocks. Once co-op unlocks for your character, you can bring in friends and tackle strongholds and missions as a pair. And it makes it way different of a gameplay experience because you have two people coming at it from different approaches who can rely on different styles of gameplay, something that is very fun to do in Cyberpunk, and actually have fun with someone and have a shared experience. That's what Cyberpunk needs to be for online. It doesn't need to be an MMO. It doesn't need to be a Destiny. It needs to be a co-op experience, something that you can go through the story with someone and have fun doing that and play through the game with a co-op partner. Have it be like the Halo campaign.
But wouldn't you want like other content to play too? Not just the same missions again?
Well, that's up to the DLC. That's up to them introducing new characters to interact with and stuff like that.
Yeah, I would want new missions. I would let's infiltrate the Militech building together.
Well, that's like the step above where I'm saying it needs to be at. Like they need to do at least co-op campaign past the title screen. And then after that experience is nailed, let's then bring in a DLC to pack to really kind of add more flavor and more stuff and like that. And then you can start selling DLC to people.
Right. Because I would like when you think about it and you're like, okay, Johnny had a gang, right? Like it was a band, but it was a gang. I want a gang. I want me and my buds to like have a cool badass gang, and I want our gang to get together, and I want our gang to go infiltrate something. I want us to infiltrate another gang. I want to infiltrate a corp. I want to do something cool in the cyberpunk world that feels really cyberpunk. That's what I want.
I want to be able to play as Jackie with someone playing as V.
Yeah. I want us to like fight back against the man, I want us to be able to like do that in this world. And that doesn't happen by yourself.
Yeah.
That's what I want.
It's easy to be a solo, but a lot of the best, mercs out there have people that they rely on. They aren't all solos.
Right.
And I think that would be a fun co-op experience that they could bring.
Absolutely. And that's how the tabletop works. Like you've got your net runner hacking the system while somebody else is looking out for the guards coming around the corner. And then the guards show up and they're taking down the guards while they're buying time for the net runner to open up, the door or hack the turret so that they don't get shot, like that kind of stuff. And then they're making their way into the next room. And then, like you got to work together in order to get through whatever it is you're trying to do. That's the cyberpunk experience when you're working as a group. That would be the next phase of this. And maybe that's 3 years down the line, but that seems like a really cool goal. If we can get to there, like it doesn't need to be GTA Online, but if we can get to that would be really cool.
Yeah.
So
anyway. Yeah. I'm imagining something along the lines of what everyone said they wanted the next Elder Scrolls to be, if you know what I mean, like taking the Borderlands online system and putting it inside an open world where it's not like missions are specific, like this is a highly structured thing where you're going to initiate the event, play the event is over, and you cannot play with your friend anymore because it's only event based. That's not fun, in my opinion. And it would break immersion again. So if they could have something that's, integrated like an open world thing, and I know that they said they're replacing the formerly GTA online system. I don't know. I think it needs to be centered around immersion because no one's going to play Cyberpunk because it's an FPS. You know what I mean?
Right.
I don't think that's why people would play Cyberpunk.
Yeah, it needs to have a system where you can be yourself and be who you are and play that out. But it also has to have cool combat and stuff. It's got to be like those two things working together, right? And they've got cool combat and stuff. That stuff's in there.
Have you guys played any Back 4 Blood yet?
Dude, that's all I've been playing.
That's right. I remember we were talking about it. That is a mission-based structure where you're going from mission to mission. There's checkpoints. You can upgrade your gear. You can add modifiers with the cards and difficulty. Like that system can be fun. It can be interesting, and it's drop in and drop out. So you can take over a bot at any point during a mission for someone, and the bots are worthless, but at least you can have someone jump in when you're playing with bots to be able to take over that character. That is a system that I think would be interesting to see in Cyberpunk. Not to say that's what it has to be, but at least something like that is an approachable design philosophy for a game that has a world like Cyberpunk. I think you could do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could see like a mission that's structured around playing it with 4 people, and let's say the 3 of us jump in and we need a 4th, and you fill it with a bot in order to just fill it out. I could see that working. But guys, we're out of time. This is it. We'll be tackling the topic of what if Cyberpunk was designed by modders next week. So tune into that. And Sam, thank you for joining us. We've got the Mass Effect Lorecast to jump into in just 15 minutes. So stay tuned for that. Sam, is there anything you want to share before we head out?
Well, thanks so much for having me on. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I can't wait to talk to you both about Cyberpunk a little bit more once I've played the game to my heart's content. I'm a completionist, so when I say that I'm going to be playing the game, I mean I'm going to be playing the hell out of it. So I definitely intend on playing Cyberpunk until there's no more content left to indulge in. So if anyone is interested, I may or may not be streaming that. Depends on, I'm going to gauge interest in that. But if anyone wants to watch some of my streams, they can catch me at N7 The Legend on Twitch, at N7 The Legend on Twitter, and pretty much everywhere else. Any other platform, if you type in N7 The Legend and I come up, then I have an account there. And if I don't, then I don't.
Yeah, well, there you go. Yeah, go check out his stream. He's been streaming on his new PC, and it's been awesome. Seems like it's been working great.
Yeah. And thanks so much for helping me set up Streamlabs. There was a couple of kinks that I needed to work out, really simple things. Kind people on the Twitch subreddit helped me out, as did Combat Vet here in chat. And the streams are really smooth now. I'm able to stream in 1080p 60 FPS, which is like, that was a pipe dream for me at one point, not too long ago. But this PC is truly awesome. So can't wait to see what it can do.
Awesome. And Logan, what do you got going on? How are the seas? Dangerous?
Keelhauled as usual. We're killing skeletons to get cosmetics. It's pretty par for the course. We've been having a lot of fun this season. But I gotta say, Sam, dude, thank you for jumping in. I really can't wait to talk to you again about your experience with Cyberpunk. I have so many questions when you hit certain story elements, to see like how they played for you. How does it feel compared to like a Mass Effect storyline? Because Mass Effect is pretty renowned for their plot and their story and their immersion in that. So I'm really curious, because I think that the story in Cyberpunk is one of its big strengths. It's one of its fortes, and I can't wait to kind of see how that works for you, if it plays out the way it did for me when it first came out, bugs and all, or if you felt like there's maybe something lacking.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty much it. I head over to the Discord if you guys want to talk to me. I'm over there. I need to check with Tom about a couple things as far as the watch party for next week. But as far as I know, that should still be going on. It should be the regular time, should be, I think, Saturday, around 11 a.m. PST, 2 p.m. EST. And that's, 7 p.m. BST. And then I think 4 a.m. Australian time, depending on what side of the coast you're on. So we'll be watching that, I think.
Yeah, that sounds right. And we're watching Akira. So
yep.
Yeah, so we'll be actually, that's the topic this month. Man, I always forget what the topic is. But yeah, we'll be talking about Akira on the patron chat, not other what if episodes. But if you do have a what if episode that idea that you want to pitch us, feel free to throw that idea at us. But that's the topic for this month, because we've been tackling different Cyberpunk movies. Man, I got caught up in all the what if excitement.
Well, Toasty hasn't seen Cyberpunk stuff, and it's ridiculous, and we're trying to fix it for him. We're doing this all for him.
You're
so
right.
If we miss
I'm
out
not
on
disappointed.
a what if,
I'm not disappointed. I got distracted. I got all excited about all this what if stuff.
Well, that just means that people have to put in their what if theories for this coming episode, then, because this is going to be their last opportunity to get shouted out on the show.
There you go. Send us your what if ideas. And I've got my stuff all over at robotsradio.net, including all these other shows from these other guys. And we're all on the Robots Radio Network. And I'm streaming every day during the week in the mornings at twitch.tv/robotsradio, where I've been playing Back 4 Blood every morning. Sometimes, though, you'll catch me editing and working on podcast stuff. And I'm happy to answer any questions you have about content creation or starting your own shows, or we can just hang out and play games together. So I'm trying to build up a Back 4 Blood crew, because trying to play through freaking Veteran with a bunch of randos on the internet is really hard, because we get a bunch of new players who jump in Veteran first, and they don't realize that this is not the kind of game that you start on Veteran, because it will destroy you. And then I'm like, all right, guys, we're going to get destroyed. And then they get destroyed. And I'm like, okay, go back to recruit first. You got to build a deck, and they don't know what they're doing. And that's a pain in the butt. So if you want to play Back 4 Blood and put together an actual crew who knows what's going on, come join me in the mornings, because then you can join my crew, and then we'll actually take on some of the harder content, because we'll be coordinated and we'll have good decks, and I can help you build your deck and learn how to play through the levels, and then we'll be awesome together. That's all I want. That's all I want for Christmas, friends, is friends. That's all I want. That's all I want is friends.
Tom likes building decks.
I just want to build a deck and have friends. So that's all I want. All right, guys.
I know of some magic conventions where you can do that.
No, Back 4 Blood. All right. Thanks for being here, guys.
What's the real
Pokemon. Pokemon's it, guys. Just Pokemon. All right. Thanks for being here, everybody. We'll be back next week, and stay tuned for the Mass Effect Lorecast coming up in just like 9 minutes from now. So we'll see you in just a little bit. Bye, everybody. Stay safe in Night City. Later. Thanks for tuning in to the Cyberpunk Lorecast. This show is a part of the Robots Radio Network, smart podcasts for interesting people. If you'd like to help support the show, please tell a friend and leave a 5-star review on iTunes. If you'd like to get in contact, please send an email to cyberpunklorecast@gmail.com or follow us on Twitter at cyberpunklore. Also, join the community on the Robots Radio Discord. The link is in the show notes. The music on the show was written and performed by The Midnight and was used with their permission. Go check them out at themidnightofficial.com. Until next time, stay safe in Night City. We'll talk to you later.
You've been listening to a Robots Radio podcast. Smart shows for interesting people. Check out all the shows at robotsradio.net.